Hey y'all. As time goes by, especially during COVID times, it has me thinking more and more about fear and resistance. Because I want you guys to be honest with yourself about what are you afraid or resisting in your life? What are you afraid of? What are you resisting in your life? Where is that block for you? And you have to be able to ask yourself why. Because there's so many times in our lives where you want to be in the flow of your life. You want to be in the flow and be moving in your purpose and your passion. And sometimes that's hard to do because of all the things that we believe are standing in our way. And it's important to be in the flow. It's important to go where you feel like you're being called or where you feel like you're being led and you're doing the things that you really enjoy doing and you're thinking about all the time. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, for me, some things that I have been afraid of and some things that I've been resisting and had this crazy block and like visceral reaction when people ask me about it. Because it could be anything. It could be in your reselling business, it could be in your personal life, your relationships, anything. And so one of the things is actually in my reselling life, I was afraid and resisting being like a reseller for real, for real. So I dabbled in Poshmark, which you guys have heard part of my story. And that's it. It was just dabbling for a long time. I didn't want to go all in. I was just like, well, what if this doesn't work out? What if I buy all of this stuff, it doesn't sell, and I have a house full of stuff? And then I'm looking around and aggravated that I have a house full of stuff that's not selling, crowding on my house. And I remember I didn't want to buy inventory boxes. I put off buying the stinking inventory boxes for months because I was like, if I buy these boxes, that means that I'm like in. If I buy this printer, if I buy these rolls of paper to go in the printer, if I buy this tape, all this stuff, that means I'm really doing this. And that was scary to me because I was like, what if I fail? What if this does not work out? Even though I was being led to actually like really go in and do it, to really put my all into doing reselling. But I resisted it. The inventory boxes, I resisted. I resisted making an inventory system because I'm like, get organized. That means I'm like in this for real. Because if I only have 50 items, I don't need to be organized. So I resisted for months. So I had clothes sitting in piles everywhere. But I felt like I was being called to do more. But I had that block. And so I had to ask myself, well, why? So October 2020, I was like, you know what? Let's see. Let's see what happens. Maybe this works. Maybe I'm able to quit my hospital job and be a reseller. Who knows? But I had to quit resisting first. One of the other things was getting a counselor a few years ago. I resisted that because I thought, I'm fine. It's no big deal. I don't really need any help. I don't need anybody to talk things through with. But I really had to admit to myself, well, where was the block coming from? Why did I think that I had to do things on my own all the time? Why did I think that, sometimes you don't need somebody to talk to when you're going through a rough season? Why did I think that? Resisting. And it's like I was afraid of admitting that I might have needed some help at that time. And then one of the other things for me was, actually, I wrote it down, was building a brand and doing e-courses and things like that. So I wanted to be able to help people get out of debt after I paid off $100,000 in student loans in 11 months because I thought there's so many other people who could use this information. But yet and still I thought, so I'm like, am I really anybody's guru? No. I'm like, I'm just some regular girl, that had a bunch of loans that decided I had had enough. And I was just like, and you just sit around comparing yourself to everybody else where you're like, well, is this e-course going to be as good as, oh girl, I saw on Instagram? Is my brand going to bring in, as much money? Is this e-course going to bring in as much money as other people's e-courses? Like, am I wasting my time? Because I'm putting all this effort forth, and what if it doesn't work out? But in the same sense, I'm like, if I don't try, I won't ever know. I'm like, I can't ever have any success in anything, and neither can you guys. You can't have any success in anything unless you put forth the effort, right? Because you actually have to go against the grain of the fear and the resistance and be in flow. And the only way you get into flow is if you go where you're led and called. It's the only way. And I know I wrote down something else so when you hit that block, that resistance where you're just like straight up against the wall, you're just banging your head up against the wall thinking, I can't get over this. You ask yourself, well, why? Why can't I move past this fear? Why can't I go up and over the block? Why? And you have to ask yourself, well, why not me? And then you admit to yourself. You admit to yourself that, I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid this isn't going to work out. I'm afraid of comparing myself to everybody else, what they're doing, how much money they're making, what they're putting on Instagram, what they say they're doing and putting on Facebook. Afraid. It's okay to admit to yourself that you're afraid or that you're not okay. It's okay. So when that fear and that resistance come up in your reselling business, in your life, financial life, personal life, relationships, you ask yourself why. And then you admit to yourself what's really going on so you can move forward. So just my little 2 pieces of interesting, not interesting fun for the night. And I'm Dr. Kanisha, pharmacist by day, eBay seller by night. It's about 10 p.m. and I hope to see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.